How Australia became the new Switzerland of the Pacific. Australia just banned an entire category of tourists from entering the country. And if you've ever posted the wrong type of content online, you might be next. I'm not talking about criminals. I'm talking about regular travelers, teachers, students, families, being turned away at Sydney Airport, interrogated for hours, and sent home on the next flight. Why? Because Australia is quietly becoming the Switzerland of the Pacific. And if you don't know what that means, you need to watch this before you book that flight. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment, I subscribe below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. Let me introduce you to Mia John, 28 years old, elementary school teacher from Vancouver. She saved for 2 years for her dream trip to Australia. Valid visa, return ticket booked, accommodation paid in advance. She lands at Sydney Airport in February 2024, exhausted but excited. 45 minutes later, she's in a detention room being told her visa is canceled. She's getting deported. The reason? Her bank statement showed only $3,000 in savings. Now you might be thinking, wait, she had a visa. She had proof of accommodation. What's the problem? Here's the problem. Since January 2024, Australia has turned away over 4,200 tourists at the border. Not for criminal records. Not for fake documents. For insufficient funds. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly what Switzerland does. Switzerland, the country that requires certain tourists to prove they can spend 3,000 euros per day. The country that built its entire tourism model on one principle: quality over quantity. Wealthy travelers only. And now, Australia is copying playbook. The new unofficial policy? You need proof of 5,000 Australian dollars minimum. That's about 3,300 US dollars, plus prepaid accommodation, plus a return flight. And if you're planning a budget backpacking trip through the outback, crash in hostels, working odd jobs to extend your stay, good luck. You might not even make it past customs. Why the sudden crackdown? Mass tourism. Byron Bay is overrun. Bondi Beach looks like a garbage dump every summer weekend. The Great Barrier Reef is dying, and half the damage is from tourists who don't follow the rules. So the Australian government looked at Switzerland and thought, let's do that. Let's price out the broke backpackers and focus on high-spending tourists who will stay in nice hotels, book expensive tours, and actually respect the rules. But the money barrier? That's just the beginning of Australia's tourist crackdown. Meet Jake Morrison, 22 years old, British travel influencer with about 50,000 Instagram followers. He makes it past customs. Bank statement checked out. He spends 3 amazing days exploring Sydney, posting content, living his best life. Day 4, immigration officers show up at his hostel. They detain him. Within 6 hours, he's deported, banned from Australia for 5 years. What did he do? They found an Instagram post from 8 months earlier. Jake climbing through, that massive sacred rock in the middle of the outback. The one that's been closed to climbers since 2019 because it's a sacred indigenous site. His caption? Worth breaking the rules, LOL. Here's what most tourists don't realize. Australia now screens the social media visa applicants flagged by their AI system. According to a 2024 ABC Australia investigation, border agents have access to a database that cross-references your visa application with your social media profiles. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of it. And they're looking for specific red flags. Posted photos disrespecting indigenous sacred sites? Banned. Videos showing you harassing wildlife, touching quokkas, chasing kangaroos, holding koalas at unlicensed facilities? Banned. Content promoting illegal camping in national parks? Banned. Geotag posts from restricted conservation areas? Banned. Between February and August 2024, 847 tourist visas were canceled or denied based purely on digital footprint analysis. That 5-year-old Instagram post of you holding a koala at some sketchy roadside zoo, that could get you banned. That TikTok where you joked about sneaking into a national park after hours? Yeah, they see that. And this isn't just Australia. Switzerland has a literal unwanted tourist list. If you've been caught littering in the Alps, hiking off-trail in protected zones, or violating environmental regulations, you're on it. Good luck getting a visa. A Tourism Australia spokesperson said this in March. We're protecting our ecosystems and cultural heritage. If your digital history shows disrespect, you're not welcome. No apologies. No exceptions. And if you think that's invasive, wait until you hear what they're doing to tourists already. The Martinez family from Spain. Mom, dad, 2 kids. They made it past the border checks. They're having an amazing 2-week vacation, exploring the Gold Coast, snorkeling, hiking, all the classic Australian experiences. 2 weeks later, they get home to Spain. There's a letter waiting. 43,000 Australian dollars in fines. That's about 28,000 US dollars. What did they do? Let's break it down. They took some shells from the beach as souvenirs. $5,000 fine. Dad flew his drone over Sydney Harbor to get a cool video. $8,500 fine. The kids fed wild dolphins during a boat tour. $12,000 fine. And here's the kicker. Mom forgot to declare that their hiking boots had been used on trails back in Spain. Biosecurity violation. $17,500 fine. They had no idea. Most of these rules, they didn't even know they existed. In 2024 alone, Australian authorities issued over $89 million in tourist-related fines. That's not a typo. $89 million. The NSW Environment Protection Authority and the Department of Agriculture are cracking down like never before. And they've got the tech to do it. AI-powered cameras in national parks detecting violations in real time. Anonymous tip lines paying locals $500 for every reported tourist violation. Mandatory biosecurity courses. $150 for tourists from high-risk countries. And if you get caught twice, instant visa cancellation. Deportation within 48 hours. Real cases. A German couple spent 3 days in jail for taking just a few rocks from the Great Barrier Reef as souvenirs. An American TikToker got slapped with a $15,000 fine and a 1-year ban for filming a beach yoga session in a protected sea turtle nesting area. She had no idea it was restricted. Here's the thing. That seashell you absentmindedly put in your pocket? You just committed a federal crime. Why is Australia doing this? 2 reasons. Indigenous land rights. Sacred sites have been vandalized and disrespected for decades. And environmental collapse. The Great Barrier Reef is dying. National parks are being destroyed. Australia looked at Switzerland's zero-tolerance approach to environmental violations and said, we need that here. Switzerland fines tourists €10,000 or more for hiking off-trail in protected alpine zones. Australia's saying, hold my beer. But here's the twist no one saw coming about Australia's new tourism model. Australia isn't just copying Switzerland's enforcement tactics. They're copying the entire system. And it's about to get way more controversial. According to a leaked memo from the Australian Department of Home Affairs, obtained by Guardian Australia in October 2024, Australia is implementing a tiered visa system. 3 categories of tourists. Category 1, standard tourist. $5,000 minimum in your bank account. Strict activity restrictions. And here's the creepy part. 24/7 digital monitoring through a mandatory visa app that tracks your location, your spending, and flags suspicious activity in real time. Category 2, premium tourist. $15,000 deposit before you arrive. You get access to exclusive reef areas that standard tourists can't visit. Fast-track entry through customs. And a $500 violation buffer, meaning your first minor fine gets waived. Category 3, ultra premium. $50,000 or more in proven spending capacity. VIP immigration lanes. A personal compliance liaison assigned to you. And exemption from certain restrictions that apply to everyone else. So let me get this straight. If you're rich enough, the rules don't apply? Exactly. This is straight out of Switzerland's playbook. Switzerland has a €100,000 investor tourist visa. You pay up, you get access to restricted alpine regions, private ski areas, the works. Australia saw that and said, we want that, and here's the really controversial part. It's working. Tourism revenue is up 34% in Australia despite 18% fewer tourists in 2024 compared to 2023. Environmental incidents? Down 61%. Local satisfaction with tourism? Up from 34% to 67%. Vandalism at indigenous sacred sites? Reduced by 78%. Fewer tourists. More money. Less damage. From a government policy perspective, it's a massive success. But here's the problem. Switzerland did this in the 2010s. Tourism became luxury only. Regular travelers got priced out. Locals couldn't afford to live in their own tourist towns anymore. Culture got commodified. The soul of the place, gone. Dr. Elena Kowalski, tourism researcher at the University of Melbourne, told reporters in September, "We're creating a two-tier system. Wealthy tourists who can literally pay to break the rules. And everyone else who get surveilled like criminals." But there's another side. Annie Margaret Davis, an indigenous elder and cultural leader, said this, "For decades, mass tourism destroyed our sacred sites. Tourists climbed Uluru even after we begged them to stop. They trashed our land. They disrespected our culture. If this is what it takes to protect what's ours, I support it." So who's right? Is Australia becoming a paradise for the rich or a dystopian surveillance state for everyone else? Here's the reality. Australia isn't alone. New Zealand started doing this in 2023. Iceland implemented tourist caps. Bhutan charges $250 per day just to enter the country. And 23 other countries are exploring similar policies right now, according to the 2024 UNWTO report on sustainable tourism through economic barriers. Switzerland's model is spreading fast. Limit numbers. Increase prices. Surveil behavior. Prioritize profit over access. So if you're planning to visit Australia in 2025, here's what you absolutely must do. 1. Financial prep. Have at least $8,000 in your bank statements covering the 3 months before your visa application. Yes, that's more than the $5,000 minimum. Why? Because immigration officers are rejecting applicants right at that cutoff line. 2. Digital audit. Delete any posts showing rule breaking, wildlife harassment, cultural insensitivity, even from years ago. Assume they will find it. 3. Pre-book everything. Accommodation, tours, return flights. Immigration wants proof you're organized and not planning to overstay or work illegally. 4. Download the compliance app. Australia launched a mandatory tourist tracking system in September 2024. You need it to enter. 5. Take the online course. There's a free 30-minute Respectful Travel in Australia module. It's required for visa approval now. 6. Get insurance. There are now specific tourist fine coverage policies available. They cost anywhere from $45 to $200 depending on coverage. Worth it if you're paranoid about accidentally breaking a rule you didn't know existed. Now, if all that sounds exhausting and dystopian and you're thinking, maybe I just won't go to Australia, I don't blame you. Here are some alternatives. Instead of the Great Barrier Reef, Raja Ampat in Indonesia, or Palau. Still incredible diving. Still relatively accessible, way less regulated. Instead of Sydney, Auckland, New Zealand. Similar vibe, beautiful harbors, slightly less strict. For now, instead of the Outback, Namibian desert or Patagonia. Dramatic landscapes, fewer restrictions, still an adventure. But here's where it gets conspiracy theory levels of interesting. Some travel bloggers are claiming this is all intentional. That Australia looked at Switzerland, Monaco, Dubai, places that rebranded themselves as luxury exclusive destinations, and said, we want that. Price out the middle-class tourists. Make Australia a rich person's playground. Charge 10 times as much for half the visitors. And honestly, looking at the numbers, the policy changes, the enforcement, it's hard to argue they're wrong. So the bigger question is this. Is Australia protecting the environment and indigenous culture, or is this just making travel a rich person's privilege? All right, so here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Australia is right to copy Switzerland's model and kick out broke tourists and rule breakers? Or is this classist gatekeeping disguised as environmentalism? Drop a 1 in the comments if you support it. Drop a 2 if you think it's elitist BS. And if you've actually been denied entry to Australia or hit with one of those massive fines, I need to hear your story. Drop it below. I'm reading every single comment. Also, quick question. Which country do you think will copy this model next? My money's on Spain or Greece by 2026. They're already drowning in over-tourism. And if you want to see my breakdown of the 7 countries that just ban American tourists entirely, that video is going up next week. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll see you there.